Safety is an important part of any job responsibilities and should be accepted as a routine part of your work. Safety doesn't have to be a burden. It's nothing more than taking the time to think, work, and act safely. In a retail store environment, safety is even more important because of the many different jobs you perform. Everyone assumes that there are no safety hazards in a retail store, but no matter where you work or what job you have, there are always potential hazards. In this program, our objective is to make you aware of some of these lurking hazards so you can take the action to prevent them from becoming accidents and injuries. Let's begin with some accident prevention techniques you can use to improve safety for yourselves, our customers, and of course, fellow workers. First of all, slips and falls are of major concern in every industry, and it's no different in a retail store. Clean floors and pleasing merchandise displays give everyone a false sense of security. How could anyone fall in such an organized and clean facility? The answer is simple. In a fast-paced work environment, floors become dirty. Merchandise can fall on the floor and become tripping hazards. There are always small items that drop on the floor or stick out in the aisle to increase the risk. It's up to each individual to keep floors clean and free of potential hazards. If you see a hazard, take action immediately. Broken glass, spilled liquids, open drawers, plastic or slippery items on floors, electrical cords lying across floors, all these things are hazards that can be corrected with individual effort. The most important part of avoiding slips and falls is to watch where you walk. If you're carrying merchandise, be sure of the footing in front of you. By being aware of potential hazards, you can take the time to prevent an accident. That's all safety is anyway, individual awareness and working as a team to reduce accidents and injuries. Insurance statistics reveal that 85 to 98% of accidents are caused by unsafe acts of employees, not watching what they're doing, taking shortcuts, violating safety rules or job procedures, and not really taking the time to think about the potential hazard before performing a job. 85 to 98% of accidents are caused by unsafe behavior. It's not that employees intentionally try to hurt themselves or that they are poor employees. It's being busy, trying to get the job done, rushing, but neglecting safety basics. You have to make a conscious effort to think about safety and then use your good judgment to make the decision to perform each particular job safely. It's like lifting safely without injuring your back. You know how to lift safely by bending your legs and not your back, but there are hundreds of lifting requirements where you can't always pick up a nice box directly off the floor. You have to understand how your back works. Then for each awkward lift, use your good judgment to protect your back from injury. Let's review how your back works. Basically, the spine is composed of vertebrae or bones and discs. These discs are like soft hockey pucks and act as shock absorbers between the bones. Another part of the spine is the nerves. If the disc is bent or damaged, the bones can easily pinch these nerves, causing intense back pain. The moral of the story is to keep your back as straight as possible, which allows the discs to keep the bones from pinching the nerves. We also recognize there are a number of lifting requirements where you can't bend your back or keep it straight. You can use your free hand for support or use your legs as support for your back. Another factor in safe lifting is stretching and twisting your back. When you stretch, the ligaments, which also provide support for your back, can stretch also and often tear. Torn ligaments cause pain and take several days to heal. Twisting your back can overstretch ligaments and can also result in pinched nerves, damaged discs, and cause a number of other back-related problems. Don't twist and lift. Don't stretch and lift. It takes your judgment and decision to lift correctly. Bending your legs isn't always the answer, but your good judgment is critical. Let's look at a good lifting sequence. Legs are bent, which results in the back maintained in a natural curve. This way, the discs aren't bent, so they provide support and flexibility between the bones. The palms, not your fingertips, are lifting the object. This means you need a good grip on the object you're lifting to keep it from slipping off your fingers. The next step is very important. Bring the objects against your stomach. Not near your stomach, but resting against your stomach. The reason for this is to reduce the amount of pressure on your back when you lift that object. If the load is held away from the body, you're exerting many more pounds of pressure per square inch on your back. Keep the load against your body. Next, stand up using the power in your legs. When you lift in this manner, it's difficult to damage your discs or overstretch the ligaments. Don't stretch and lift. Don't twist and lift. It's that simple. In a retail environment, there are always sharp objects that cause hand injuries. Never pick up broken glass with your fingers. Use a small broom and dustpan. Inspect your work area for sharp objects, such as corners of shelving and racks. Use caution when handling knives, scissors, merchandise pins, and other sharp objects. Don't forget about our customers. Exposed sharp objects on displays seem to attract small children, so take a look each shift to make sure there are no sharp edges or corners on displays. In retail, everyone uses finger cutters to open boxes. We call them finger cutters because they are designed to cut fingers, arms, legs, and cardboard. Every time you pick up one of these cutters, think of it as a finger cutter. The best advice to use with finger cutters is to keep your free hand out of the cutting path so when the cutter slips, your hand won't be in the way. Knives are a necessary part of the business. Meat, bakery, deli items, you need to use a sharp knife to get the job done. The safety rule is, don't cut yourself. Good advice, but there's more to it, so let's take a look. There are two different types of protective gloves. Each has different limitations. First, metal mesh gloves can protect your hands from cuts, but they cannot protect you from punctures. The sharp point of any knife can penetrate these metal mesh gloves. The same applies to flexible gloves, such as shown here. They protect your hands from cuts, but not punctures. The moral of the story is, when using knives, you must use some type of protective equipment that protects you from cuts. Some people wear latex or rubber gloves to prevent contamination of the product from bacteria. These gloves offer no protection from cuts or punctures. Another limitation with gloves is they cannot be worn when operating moving machinery, such as when using a bandsaw to cut meat or other products. Gloves in this case are hazardous because a glove can get caught in the blade and pull your entire hand and arm into the cutting path. Don't wear gloves when operating machinery. Next, these gloves can become unsanitary after using them, so it's your responsibility to make sure the gloves get cleaned and sanitized as often as necessary, but at least every shift. Did you notice we said cleaned and sanitized? Clean means removing dirt, food particles, and other debris from your gloves, knives, and work surfaces. Cleaning doesn't kill bacteria. Sanitizing is the process by which you use a chemical or a simple bleach and water solution that kills the bacteria. After you have cleaned and sanitized your knife, don't touch the blade with your fingers, as this can contaminate the knife with bacteria, and if the knife is stored for a long period of time, bacteria can multiply quite rapidly and create contamination. Don't forget to clean your knife scabbards or holders. These items become quite clogged with meat particles and other debris, so make it a habit to clean the knife holders as well. Just remember that cleaning removes food particles and sanitizing kills bacteria. If you drop a knife or other utensil on the floor, always wash and sanitize before using them again. A very important rule in any food handling environment is washing your hands frequently. Before beginning work, when returning from the bathroom, and any time your hands become dirty, you should wash your hands and wrists. Bacteria contamination is a serious hazard in a kitchen. Dirty hands and wrists can easily contaminate food, utensils, and working surfaces, so keep your hands and wrists clean by washing them frequently. One last thing about cleaning and sanitizing. You should never use a knife that has cut one type of product, then use that same knife to cut another product without first cleaning the knife. In other words, if you cut red meat, Don't use that same knife to cut poultry, fish, or pork. Always wash your knives before changing from one food product to another to avoid cross-contamination. Never place knives or other sharp objects in water for cleaning. The water can conceal a sharp knife, so you want to store dirty knives in a suitable rack or bin so the person watching the knives can plainly see the knives and can use the knife handle to hold the knife while cleaning it. Okay, let's now take a look at some safety tips when using knives. They're common sense rules that have been learned over the years through accidents and injuries and are designed to make sure these same accidents and injuries don't happen to you. The very first rule is that any knife you use must be sharp. Dull knives cause hand and wrist injuries, and they just don't do the job. Keep all knives sharp and remove any defective or broken knife from service. When you're sharpening knives, watch what you're doing. It's easy to talk to someone else or not pay attention, but sharpening knives is serious business that needs your undivided attention. When a knife is not being used, put it in its proper rack or holder. Never leave knives lying on a work surface because they can fall off onto the floor, or it can be a cut or puncture hazard waiting to happen. When you're walking with a knife, hold the knife by the handle and keep the blade pointed towards the floor. In the event you trip or fall, the potential for injuring yourself or someone else is greatly reduced. If you hand a knife to someone else, be sure to present the handle of the knife to the other person. You want to make sure you don't cut yourself on the sharp blade, but you have control of the knife and the other person is seeking control of the knife. Always hand a knife to someone else by presenting the handle to the other person. Meat slicers are quite common, and so are meat slicer cuts and injuries. When slicing meat, keep your hands and fingers out of the blade area. Pay attention to what you're doing and never leave the slicer on while you're away from the meat slicer. When you're not using the slicer, keep the blade set at 0, which recesses the cutting edge of the blade into the guard. Never remove any guards on any machines. When cleaning the meat slicer, use extreme caution around the blade surfaces. Always remove the electrical plug from the electrical receptacle on any electrical equipment before servicing or cleaning that equipment. Ladder safety is another important safety rule. Never use a chair, table, or merchandise as a ladder. Use the proper ladder or step stool to reach high places. Never stand on the top 2 steps of any step ladder. This reduces the ladder's center of gravity and can cause you to fall. Inspect all ladders for defects before using them. When working around electricity, such as changing light bulbs, never use a metal or aluminum ladder. Metal or aluminum are good conductors of electricity and can cause a serious injury should a short or electrical malfunction occur. We know it's tempting to climb on racks, shelves, or merchandise to reach something, but the safety rule is very clear. Never climb on anything for any reason. Use the proper ladder for the job. Stairs and floors can be hazards if they are not clean, really clean. When cleaning a spill off the floor, consider the contents of the spill. Oil or grease-based substances are difficult to clean, so here's a tip to get all the oil from the floor. Clean the spill, then wipe it dry. It may look okay, but the oil may still be inside the floor surface that you can't see. After the spill has been wiped clean, use an abrasive powder, such as a cleaning powder, and wipe it over the spill. This removes oil or grease residue and helps keep the floor in a non-slip condition. It's the little things that make safety a reality in a fast-paced retail store. Little things like picking up items off the floor when you see them, keeping your area neat, clean, and organized, keeping stock out of aisles and exit paths, keeping drawers closed, checking the front of the store at the customer entrance, making sure front door rugs are properly placed so as not to cause tripping hazards, and checking the entrance and exit doors for proper working order. Inspecting electrical cords for frays, cracks, or broken ground prongs. Electrical safety is something we take for granted because a problem rarely arises. Electrical safety requires effort on your part. If you notice a defective piece of electrical equipment, or you notice a shock or slight tingle from any electrical appliance, shut it off, unplug it, and notify management so it can be repaired or replaced. In the event you experience an accident or injury, be sure it's reported to management when it occurs, not hours or days later. Report all accidents and injuries when they occur. Should first aid or medical treatment be required, it will be provided. In the event of a customer injury, the best advice is to notify management. Management is trained to respond to customer injuries. Each individual is the key to safety. If you take the time for safety, report unsafe conditions to management, and really concentrate on safety, accidents can't happen. If you have any questions about a particular job, piece of equipment, or simply want to know more about safety, ask management. Safety is a team effort, and you're the major part of the program. Thank you.